Welcome to the world of electronic music, and I thought I might introduce the setup that I've run here, and I think you might find it interesting to say the least. Now, first and obvious most thing is the Casio keyboard. They're just a standard type of keyboard that people would use for any band, for weddings, stuff like that. They've got all sorts of tricks on them. Change all the different settings. So they do all sorts of things similar to that. I like the sounds of that, and that's a complete instrument in its own right, without any doubt about that. So it's a good use of things. Also got drums, depending on how you set it up. So it's designed, it's even got automatic bass on and everything, so it's designed to be played. It shows in that, and I've used it a lot over the last probably nearly 20 years since I've had it. The lower keyboard doesn't produce a sound. It's an M Audio. Straighten up a bit. And what this does is a MIDI control keyboard. I'm sure we've all heard of MIDI keyboards, and it doesn't seem to do anything because it doesn't produce a sound. It's just like a typewriter keyboard for a computer. It just sends out data, but that data then goes to a latest acquisition, the Roland SH01A synthesizer. And I've always loved Roland gear because I've had it since the 1970s, and I found them to be a very reliable unit. In fact, the SH series is very similar to my SH09 I used to have, which I got back in about 1984, I think it was. Now it's telling me I haven't used it. And it's quite a good unit. It's got one main oscillator. You can pulse width modulate it. It's got an octave coupler, or 2 octaves below, usual ADSR filters on it for getting the sharpness down. That's it there. And when I move this wheel over here, you see that light going up and down there. It means that I can control the tone of the oscillator. The other one, that adds vibrato to it, but I don't actually have that added to it because it gets a bit too severe. And so that's how it operates on that keyboard. So the MIDI keyboard controls the synthesizer. But this synthesizer has one advantage over my old keyboard. It's polyphonic. I can program it to play 2 or 3 notes. So I play a maximum of 4 notes, and each note has its own active filter. It's not just a tone generator. It also does arpeggios too, which I find interesting. So I'll switch that on there. And so forth. It's a great little effect. But what can be done with this is, what I've done traditionally is I often use this keyboard here. I've also got a volume pedal down there to bring it up and down, which is a Boss or Roland effect. So I can get, that's the 2 conventional keyboards with the Roland synth, and you're hearing it through an amplifier that's sitting over there. Now, another thing I can do with this is it's got this little box here, is a guitar pedal board, but it does echo. And I won't go through demonstrating everything on there, but it's got quite a lot of variety on it, which is very good indeed. For its price, it's a marvellous piece of gear. It's an M Vave brand. I got it from AliExpress, so that works out quite good. Now we move on to the other half of the keyboard, and that's controlled from the computer system down here. Now I'll turn off the Roland. So yeah, that's turned off, and I'll turn off the volume to the other unit. I'll turn up the volume here so you can hear a little bit better. On here it's a bit soft. Now on the screen here, you might be able to see that is a what they call a virtual pipe organ. And if I touch this button here, you can see it turns out light on if it shows up in on the video. So it's exactly the same as selecting stops on an organ. That does the pedal board ones. And also the volume control here does that. I can adjust things, see it moving up and down, so I can actually control the volume there. When I play the notes on here, I'll get that. Hang on, I'll get the mouse out of the way, but it's a bit of nuisance. That's where the keyboard goes to the computer. You can see the notes playing up there, they turn red, sharps and flats. And same with this keyboard too. I've got to actually enter all these things one at a time because the program comes unlinked. And so what does it sound like? Well, you've probably already heard it used in some of my music. If I pick this stop here, you can see it pops out automatically, gets the real sound, so you get this sort of a pedal board. Keyboard. So, and this one just turns them all off. I've also got some pre-programmed ones, some very soft sounds. I love this. It's an absolute. I've waited a half a lifetime to get this sound on my little hot fingertips, because going back years ago you just couldn't get anything like this. This is a wonderful system. I'll just turn that off now. Now comes the fun. As you heard before, I've got these. And the synthesizer, which I'll now turn back on. With that full switch. And there she is there. Now when I combine that with the organ, this is what we get here, you get this effect. Now with the Casio together, now, as you can see, it's a grand effect. It's very impressive. I love it. So you can see why I've sort of gotten into this a lot over the last few months and years to get this all built up. I really needed a synthesizer lead just to cap off all these effects. Otherwise, you haven't got a strong dominant lead device as far as that's concerned. So it's quite good. But what's interesting with the Casio keyboard and the virtual organ, they are slightly different pitches. I think this is tuned for standard A. I think that's a slightly sharper A, but I can't remember offhand. But when you play the single note, I'll play that with a Borden. Now if I add the Casio to it, you hear a slightly shimmering effect. Take it away. of a feedback from the microphone. No, that was quite. It's very in big pipe organs. They have a very similar effect of that, where they have slightly detuned pipes to add a shimmering effect. I've heard it myself live on the big organ, so it's quite a good effect. So that's basically an introduction to the keyboard setup as it is. And oh, by the way, what's the microphone for? Well, fortunately for you, I don't sing. I'm a shocking singer, so never ask keyboard players to sing, or drummers either for that matter. I've got a vocoder pedal down the bottom now. I'll pick a setting that makes it work better. That'll do. We'll try that one. Now we'll do this one here. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, testing. This is the vocoder sound. Vocoder sound. Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. So it's pretty nifty. If I turn it off with a foot. That's a normal sound. Vocoder. That's with the vocoder sound. So I'll put that over there. I had a vocoder, a Korg vocoder in about 1978, and I found it extraordinarily difficult to operate because the gooseneck on it was only about that long and you just hunched over this stupid thing, but it gave a sound like that. This also does a lot of tricks. I won't go through the whole lot, but I found that because of the type of classical music that I like to do, I like the Gothic effects, the classical effects, the lofty choirs. If I can get that to function the way I hope it does, and it does, it's going to be quite a breakthrough in synthesizing grand works of the electronic synthesizer, classical and Gothic sort of styles, that larger than life sound. I think it's a bit funny. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. It's quite a fascinating process, and I don't often do these tours of keyboards because I don't like my rivals to fight at everything I've got, but it doesn't matter what people have got, it's how you use it that matters. Anyway, enjoy yourself and thank you very much for viewing.